Today we're going to be learning how to use long division to factor a polynomial. So in our first problem, right now what we're going to do is take this extremely long polynomial and divide it by 2x minus 3. So we're going to set it up like we would a regular division problem, where we're going to put 4x to the fourth, all of this inside of our division box. So one thing you need to be careful of is you want to make sure you have a term with every single x to the fourth, x to the third. See how this is missing an x squared? If it's missing an x squared, we want to still have a placeholder there, so we're going to say 0x squared minus 3x minus 9. So you just want to make sure you have all your terms. So starting at just the number x, this is just 1x, 2x's, 3x's, 4x's, you want to make sure you're not skipping any in between. So I'm going to put the 0 placeholder there even though it's missing from this. Now I'm going to divide it by 2x minus 3. So just like what in a regular division problem, we're going to start off with this first term. So I want to see how many times does 4x to the fourth, how can I divide this by 2x? So I'm going to divide this by this. My first term from this, my first term from this one. And I have 4x to the fourth divided by 2x. So 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. X to the fourth divided by x gives me x to the third. So this tells me that my first term in my answer is going to be 2x to the third. Now I'm going to put that on top of my x to the third so they line up. Now just like in regular division, now we're going to multiply this 2x to the third by this term on the left hand side. So I'm going to do 2x to the third times 2x, which gives me 4x to the fourth. They should be the same. And then 2x to the third times negative 3, which gives me negative 6 x to the third. Now, in regular division, we would be subtracting this. So what I need to do here that's super important is you need to change the signs so that you can subtract it. So I'm going to change the sign by taking, this was positive, now it's going to be negative. This was negative, and now I'm going to make it positive. So I'm going to do this in a different color so you can see me changing the signs. Once the signs are changed, now we can just add them together. So this 4 and the negative 4, they cancel out. Negative 2x cubed plus 6x cubed, negative 2 plus 6 gives me positive 4x to the third. And now I'm just going to bring down my next term. So I have 0x squared. Okay, so we're going to repeat that process exactly again. So we have 4x to the third now. So this is now the number I'm going to start off with, 4x to the third. Again, I'm dividing it by the first term, 2x. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2. X to the third divided by x gives me x squared. So now this is the next term that I'm going to put on top. So I have plus 2x squared. And just like before, I'm going to multiply this 2x squared by both of these. So I have 2x squared times 2x. 2 times 2 gives me 4. X squared times x gives me x to the third. So again, they should match up. And then I'm going to multiply 2x squared times negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 gives me negative 6 x squared. And again, here, what I'm going to do is change the signs. So I'm going to make this one negative, make this one positive. So that then I'm going to add them together. So 4x to the third minus 4x to the third cancels out, gives me 0. 0x squared plus 6x squared gives me 6x squared. And now I'm going to bring down my next term, which is negative 3x. And I'm going to do this whole process again. So we're starting off with the 6x squared. We're going to divide it by 2x. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. X squared divided by x leaves me with x. So positive 3x is the plus. 3x goes on top. 3x times 2x gives me 6x squared. 3x times negative 3 gives me negative 9x. Again, we're going to change the signs. So this becomes a negative, this becomes a positive. And we're going to add it together. So 6x squared minus 6x squared again cancels out. The negative 3x plus 9x, negative 3 and positive 9 give you 6x. We'll bring down our last term. So this is our last time we're going to do this. We have 6x divided by, again, the first term, which is 2x. 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. X divided by x leaves me with nothing. So now I'm going to have a positive 3 up here, plus 3. And I have 3 times 2x gives me 6x. 3 times negative 3 gives me negative 9. And once again, I'm going to change the sign so I can subtract it. Minus plus. 6x minus 6x cancels out. Negative 9 plus 9 also cancels out. So this leaves you with 0, which is what we want. This is our remainder of 0. So we know it divides evenly into this function. So what I want to do now is rewrite. So f of x equals this entire long thing, but since we divided it, we know that we can rewrite this as 2x minus 3 and our answer, which is 2x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 3. Right, so when we divided 2x minus 3, we know that these two together are going to multiply to give us back our f of x from the beginning. So this is just, these two are factors of our original problem. Okay, so we want to completely factor this. So in this problem, there's actually one last thing we can do here to completely factor it out. This has 4 terms right here, so we can actually break this down even farther. What can I divide both of these two out by? 2x squared. When I take out a 2x squared, this leaves me with x and plus 1. What can I divide out of this group? Positive 3, again, leaves me with x plus 1. So I can rewrite these 4 terms as, I can pull out the x plus 1, and what it leaves me with is 2x squared plus 3. And then I still have this 2x minus 3 at the beginning. So my completely factored out form is this, because I cannot break anything else down any farther. This is as factored as it possibly can get. Okay, let's look at problem number 2. So same idea, we're going to set this up. So we're going to write the big function underneath, and let's make sure we're not skipping any. This is x to the third, our next one should be x squared. Our next one should just be 1x, yep, and 32, right. So this one doesn't have any zeros that we need to fill in, because we have one of every term. And we're dividing it by x plus 4. So again, let's take our first term here, we have x cubed. We're going to divide it by our first term from this one. Divided by x, that leaves me with x squared. So that's the first thing I'm going to put on top. I have x squared times x, which gives me x to the third, x squared times 4, which gives me positive 4x. And just like before, this is the step that most people miss. We're going to be changing our sign. So this is going to become negative, and this one's going to become negative. So when we add it together, these cancel out. And 10 minus 4 gives us 6x squared. Sorry, this should be x squared. So 10x squared minus 4x squared gives me 6x squared. We're going to bring down the next term. Same thing again. So now we're using our first term from this one, 6x squared divided by x, which gives me 6, and then x squared divided by x leaves me with just 1x. This is my next term up here. It's positive, so it's plus 6x. Again, we're multiplying 6x times x gives me 6x squared. 6x times 4 gives me plus 24x. Again, we're going to change the signs. And we have 6x squared minus 6x squared, which of course cancels out. 32x minus 24x gives us 8x. And we have one more. We got to bring the 32 down. We're going to do the exact same thing. So 8x divided by our first term again, which is x, which just leaves us 8. So up here we have plus 8. We're going to do 8 times x, which gives me 8x. 8 times 4, which gives me plus 32. When I change both of these signs, they both cancel out to give me 0, which is good. That's my remainder. So I can rewrite f of x. So this entire long function right here, I can rewrite using x plus 4 and x squared plus 6x plus 8. And let's see if we can factor this out any farther. This is a trinomial right here, right? So we can factor this out by doing the x box. So a times c goes on top. This is 8. B goes at the bottom. What multiplies to give you 8 adds to give you 6. 1 and 8, 2 and 4. So 2 and 4, right? And so because your a value is 1, we can just rewrite this as x plus 2, x plus 4, And since we have two x plus 4s, I'm actually going to combine them to just put x plus 4 squared. And this is my factored out f of x. So really, this entire long problem we started off with can be written as this, which is much simpler. Okay, one last example, and then we're going to practice. Let's flip to the back. Okay, so again, I'm going to start off with the long one. So we have x to the 5th as our first one. Again, we want to make sure there's no gaps. So our next term should be x to the 4th. But as you can see, there is no x to the 4th. So this is where we're going to put the plus 0 x to the 4th as a placeholder. Next one should be x to the 3rd. So we have a minus 3x to the 3rd. After that should be x squared, so plus x squared. After the x squared should just be x to the first power, just x. Again, there's no x there, so we're going to have another placeholder, 0x, because we need to have that x to the first power, and then minus 24. And in this problem, this also needs to have a placeholder, because we have an x squared, but we don't have an x, so we're going to put 0x there, and we have a minus 3. So you want to make sure you have all the terms from your highest one all the way down to just the number. Okay, so from here on out, all the steps are the same. We're going to take the first term here, divided by our first term here. X to the 5th divided by x squared leaves you with x to the 3rd. So I'm going to write x to the 3rd right above this x to the 3rd to make sure they line up. We're going to multiply x to the 3rd times this whole thing. So x to the 3rd times x squared gives me x to the 5th. X to the 3rd times 0x gives me 0x to the 4th. This is 3x's, this is 1x, so now I have 4x's. X to the 3rd times negative 3 is negative 3x to the 3rd. And again, just like before, we're going to change the signs of all of these. So this was minus, minus, and this one becomes plus. And when we add them all together, x to the 5th gives you, cancels out, 0 and 0 cancel out. And this is the first time this has happened. Negative 3 and positive 3 also cancel out to just give you 0. So what happens here is if it gives you 0, we're going to have to bring down more than just 1. Right, so in this case, because there's 3 terms here, we can actually bring down all 3 of these terms. And we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. So we had 8x squared divided by x squared. So we're taking our first term, dividing it by our first term here. And this just gives us 8 because the x squareds cancel out. And the 8, it's a positive 8, so it's going to be plus 8. I'm going to write it up here above my 24 because those match up. And I'm going to do 8 times x squared, which is 8x squared. 8 times 0x, which is 0x. 8 times negative 3, which is negative 24. Again, change all of our signs. Cancel out, negative 24 plus 24 also cancel out to give you 0. So you should have a remainder of 0. So I know that I can rewrite my f of x as, I have x squared. Now that I have my answer, I don't need to write the 0 anymore, so minus 3. And also x to the 3rd plus 8. So for this one, this is actually a formula we can use. This is sum of cubes, which is on the wall to the right, because 8 is the same thing as 2 cubed. So using our formula, sum of cubes is the pink one. We can rewrite this as x plus 2, x squared minus 2x, and then plus 2 squared, which is 4. So this is my final factored out form for this problem. So our goal is to factor out everything as much as possible. And there it is.